at abusive practices on women and girls in coastal areas. Did you know that more than 600 million people in the world rely on fishing to earn a living? These men and women feed more than 3.3 billion people, nearly half of the world's population every year. That is according to a UN report filed by the Food and Agricultural Organization FAO. Many men and women working in the fishing industry are temporarily unskilled. Due to unresolved challenges in the industry, women and girls suffer abuse in the form of transactional sex and sexually transmitted diseases. In this report, Mavis Ofei-Champon looks at these abusive practices over the years and what has been done to reduce them in the coastal areas.
On Wednesdays, the shores of the Atlantic Ocean at Pakano and Elmina in Central Region battle with fishermen bringing in boatloads of fish. Women who sell fish wait for them at the shore, having gotten there as early as 5 a.m. to get the best catch for sale. Most of the fish stocks impart livelihoods, generating unsafe conditions with tension at home and even violence. Women and girls are vulnerable to a violation of their rights and face countless abuses. In fishing communities, women and girls are coerced into transactional sex where adolescent girls and even women are forced into having sex with fishermen in exchange for fish stocks. In Commander Edna Eguafu municipality, this abusive act is responsible for the high number of teenage pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases.
Education going on, but we don't have enough of it in our community. We can also talk about the laws or policies that are in our communities or in our district or a country as a whole. I mean, we are trying, but it's not very effective. All the interventions or intrusions by political and sometimes traditional leaders does not bring out the punitive aspects of, some of these practices. So if someone is caught defiling a girl or has raped a girl, parents or communities who come in and talk about it at home. So other people who are perpetrators of these crimes can get away with it. So the enforcement of these laws are very important, and sometimes we don't really see these at the community level. And so I can also talk about the fact that we don't have much spaces for young people to just sit around and discuss some of these issues and find ways to deal with it. And so that's why for me the safe spaces for young people to learn about these things is very, very important. And then we can also talk about some of our traditional norms, and practices that promote some of these things. If you're a young girl and you're 15, 16, you haven't had your child yet or first child yet, then it's like you're not woman enough. If you're a young boy and you haven't slept with an adolescent girl, they are not man enough, you are tobele. So some of these things are really affecting it. You can't also take away the economic aspect of it.
For decades, the surge of sex for fish has plagued communities, perpetuating gender-based violence. In response, Ghana has waged a battle against this deeply rooted issue. Over the past 4 years, the country has implemented safe space programs aimed at empowering adolescent girls, educating them about their rights, and fostering the ability to make informed choices.
With some of the girls that we deal with, we can see that there's been a lot of transformation and they are participating in their own protection. But there are a lot more people out there that we are not able to reach. But government has a stronger hand and a wider reach to be able to put in systems to reduce some of these issues. There's so much work ongoing, and in partnership with the Department of Social Welfare across board, the Ghana Health Service, Ghana Education Service, DOFSU and all that, there's so much more work going on, especially in the central region.
At the forefront of this transformative initiative is the Safe Space Project, a collaboration between International Needs Ghana, UNICEF and UNFPA, operating in the Commander Edna Eguafu, Cape Coast and Infantiman municipalities of the Central Region. This project has been a beacon of change. Over the last 5 years, it has reached more than 6,000 girls across 60 communities, arming them with knowledge and resilience.
So the skills empowerment for us is actually in two areas. One is when you give skills to girls, math skills, where you teach girls, for instance, how to make soap, like liquid soap, or how to make beads. This is skills that you are giving to a vast number of girls so that, even in their spare time, some of these things keep them busy. Or when they have the opportunity, they can do these things on their own to sell. Then we have the other part where you're actually targeting apprenticeship, where you give support to individuals and you put them in craftsmanship. apprenticeship and, monitor them to ensure that they finish these crafts and are able to stand on their own. So for me, there are two parts where you just give the skills and then the girls can decide that, there isn't it, in their spare time, instead of going to engage in all kinds of things or engage in all kinds of unhealthy activities, they'll rather do a skill. But then there's the other part, which is apprenticeship, which you put the person in a craftsmanship, and the person can actually, it's expected that when they are done, they can gain money from it, as a form of economic empowerment. So we actually do both of those.
Madam Vera Elikem Awi, the Gender Programs Officer of International Needs Ghana, emphasizes that the Safe Space programs go beyond a one-off effort. They serve as a continuous platform for adolescent girls to freely express themselves. These girls actively participate every week, dedicating 2 hours to the program with a minimum training target of 31 hours.
There's a lot of research that shows that when girls or young people or people are engaged for a minimum of 31 hours, you begin to see some behavioral changes. The content we are using to engage these girls is more than 31 hours. It's about 48 hours. And the girls that are very consistent, it's amazing to see what has come of them. We've had girls who have returned to school voluntarily, who are adolescent mothers. I have a very sweet girl who is currently in ACM Senior High School. Next year, mother who was in cohabitation or child marriage. We've had so many girls who have gone back to school. They're currently supporting people to learn some skill, whether it's, hairdressing or something that brings them some form of economic empowerment as well. So there's so much work going out there that's using to support the government of Ghana to make sure that children, adolescents in Ghana are safe.
Despite strides in empowering adolescent girls, a significant hurdle remains the challenge of holding perpetrators to account. Family interference continues to impede efforts to bring these wrongdoers to justice. In response, gender and human rights groups are advocating for stronger punitive actions and measures within communities to serve as a deterrent against perpetrators.
If you have a system in place, it helps. So for instance, if the community can decide that, okay, at 6 p.m. we don't want to find children around this area or around the beaches, and between maybe 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. we don't want to find children there. They should be in school where they are receiving some form of education and empowerment. So we should be able to put in certain systems and mechanisms as well that control some of these behaviors or practices in our communities that are really just spoiling the next generation. We keep saying that children are the next generation, but they are here. This is the generation. This is it. And so we really need to do something about it by putting in the necessary laws, measures, and making sure that these laws are enforced. People who flout these laws are punished for it so that it serves as deterrent to other people.
Aku, Georgina and Janet, beneficiaries of the Safe Space project, shared their perspectives on the initiative, commending the International Needs Ghana and the UNFPA for the initiative of getting girls educated and empowered.
I used to miss school as a result of money to pay my fees, so I sell fish, but they always take advantage of me. So when Madam Vera and her people came, I joined them and the training has helped me pan. Now I can do soap and sell to take care of my school needs small. I got pregnant and had to leave school. The man said he's not the one. I've suffered until Madam Vera and her team came around to support me. Now I can do beads and soap to sell to feed myself and the baby. I always regret what I was forced into.
International Needs Ghana is actively involving parents and caregivers in an initiative to foster positive parenting and enhance communication within households. They believe if this is done, both parents and the adolescent girls will be empowered to know their rights and be assertive against gender-based violence.
Yes, it's very important that we engage the parents. So what we have started is also creating a platform where parents meet once a month to discuss various topics that have to do with their adolescents or their children in the home. So you find in our communities that we are working in currently that once a month, parents or caregivers, not just parents, it could be caregivers as well, because some of the kids are living with people who are not their biological parents. So they meet once a while and they take a topic. For instance, if it is gender-based violence, sometimes we have a resource person, maybe from social welfare, that comes to speak with them. Or we have actually trained some of the community members to just, have these platforms to have these conversations to promote positive parenting, and also promote effective communication in the home. And for many communities that we are using this approach, you could see that the households are bonding. Parents are more active in the lives of their young people.
Meanwhile, in other African countries with fishing communities such as Malawi, Kenya and Zimbabwe, the struggle against gender-based violence persists. Protective measures have been implemented to safeguard the well-being of women and girls. In Zimbabwe, for instance, JBV watch committees have been established to raise awareness in communities and provide survivors with confidential channels to report abuse. In Kenya, women have been granted autonomy by forming cooperatives and buying and owning their own boats. This initiative aims to reduce dependency on men for income, a factor that can sometimes lead to various forms of abuse. In the struggle to end transactional sex in fishing communities, poverty and other socioeconomic challenges loom large. However, armed with education and unwavering commitment from all stakeholders to address these challenges, hold the perpetrators accountable and create environments that prioritize safety for all.
This report was produced with the support of the Africa Women's Journalism Project, AWJP, in partnership with the International Center for Journalists, ICFJ, with support from the Ford Foundation.
A report by Mavis Ofe Echamp.